Now let me explain what prompted this module on assessing students in clinical practice. It was prompted by the need for fair assessment. Students are very anxious about coming into placement and being assessed continuously over a period of several weeks. And it's very, very key then that we arrange assessment in ways that enable them to feel that their performance and their learning have been evaluated correctly and fairly. It's quite often that students compare learning in clinical practice and assessment there with what they would do in theory. In theory, they have more than one assessor. In practice, they may feel incorrectly that there is only one assessor and that person has a huge amount of power. So we need to revisit assessment in practice and help you to make a really good job of doing this in an equitable way. Now, how can practice-based mentors assess their students then? Well, I think the first thing is to set the scene with the student in a way that they understand that this is continuous learning, but at the same time it is an assessment of their learning progress as well as their achievements. It's certainly the case that there will be module objectives and there will be performance standards which they have to meet, but it's also the case that we're going to be assessing how they're going about the business of learning. We have an empathetic interest in the students' progress as well as a judgment about their practice standard. So explaining that to the student at the outset, setting the plans with the student in a way that enables them to feel that it's got an orderly progression, that there will be chance to ask questions, that they will get feedback, is a good start for the assessment process. Now, student nurses will need to anticipate a number of challenges associated with their placement. The first, of course, is a degree of anxiety that they're being watched a lot, that they're going to be assessed on their skills and the way they talk, the way they communicate, their attitudes and their values, and they're going to feel that this is much more intensive than if they were assessed on one single procedure or one single test in the campus situation. So that's an anxiety for them, and we can deal with that by setting up a rapport with the student. We're going to need to develop a relationship of trust with them, and that means that we're going to have to ask them to give us permission to understand how they reason as well as what they do. To do that, one of the ways in which we can set that up is, of course, to show our own reasoning with them. We think aloud what we would do and help them to understand that we're not certain about absolutely everything. We set up a rapport because we're on a shared inquiry. Now, what constitutes an adequate assessment process? A way of ensuring that the student is fairly dealt with. I think I've already alluded to the fact that you set up a plan with the student. But I think another important thing to do is to remind the student that it is not just you that's going to assess them. You are going to take into account the opinions and the judgments and the evaluations of a large number of other people. In that sense, the student has a chance to build relationships with other people. They're going to understand that they're evaluated by colleagues as well as by their mentor. The advantage of that is that it feels equitable and fair. It's not just being done by one powerful person. So I think setting up that arrangement is important. I think setting up the arrangement also that you will see this as a learning journey with them, and that you will be inquiring with them as to what they don't yet understand and what they need help with is an important empathetic start as well. We're not going to be there to judge alone. We're going to be there to effectively help them to inquire. And an equal interest in process of inquiry is vastly beneficial to the student. Now we come to the question of how best mentors may assess student reasoning. It's not just that we look at the way the student does something, the standard to which they do it, the skill level. We need to understand the underlying reasoning that they have used. If we don't understand the underlying reasoning, we don't know that they're doing something for the right reason. We don't actually know that they are thinking in the right professional, ethical, interpersonal way. So for that reason, we need to gain their permission and gain their trust to rehearse with us the ways in which they are thinking about what they're doing. Why, when, where, how. We do this by rehearsing some of our own thoughts. We do it by inviting them to speculate about what they've encountered. By speculating, they learn that in practice, not everything is right or wrong. They will make mistakes, they can learn from mistakes, and we can help them to problem solve for the future. So doing those things in a collegiate way, in a considerate way, will enable the student to trust us and to feel that they can progress through the placement in a stepwise fashion. So, what's the purpose of this module? It's certainly not to teach you the basic mentorship course all over again. The purpose of this module is in many ways to help you to pause and think about what you've done in the past to help learners. It's going to help you to think about why something was difficult, what we were trying to do, why continuous assessment is difficult for students. It's going to help you to think about some structures and processes within the placement that enable the student to feel that they can share with you the sort of thinking which will help you to make a better judgment of their performance and their progress. It's an important process. There is no more important assessor of learning than a mentor. I, as an academic assessor on a campus, I have it easy. I have the arrangements whereby I have exam guidelines, I have assessment parameters. You are working with a flexible, challenging, complex nature of practice. What you do is very, very important. I hope that what you learn on this module will enable you to carry on doing that, and with some enthusiasm. You're a very important colleague. I wish you luck and I wish you success in your mentoring of students in the future.